Long life, now we feeling it again. Better hold tight, we on this ride that never ends, going all night. Can you feel this energy? This is where we're meant to be.
What's up, my Scream fans? I'm Chantel, and welcome to my channel, Sean Television, where we get to see everything through my eyes. Today I want to talk about why I personally think that Stu Macher is still alive. And I know that there are people out there that are going to argue with me, and that's okay. We don't have to believe the same thing, but I will die on this hill. This is a hill I am willing to die on. The Stu Macher is still alive. And until I'm literally proven wrong, that's what I'm going to go with. Sorry, not sorry. I know you're asking yourselves why I think Stu Macher's alive. And the number one reason immediately off the top of my head was Wes Craven did not consider Stu Macher dead. He was supposed to come back in the third one and have like a whole cult of Stu. But unfortunately, Columbine happened, and you know, what a fucking tragedy. I still remember that shit. But it did. It completely screwed up production for the movie. So they had to come up with a completely different plot and everything, which is kind of how we got the Roman. We're kind of fucked things up. I don't think so, though. Personally, I don't think so. We'll get into that video. I'll do a ranking video some other time. But anyway. And then there's also the proof that, there was that little Easter egg. So not proof, but there's a little Easter egg in Scream 5 where, right at the bottom, there was the little YouTube thing that said, is the real Stu Macher still alive? And I thought that was really fun, especially because they had played around with the same, thumbnail Easter egg that Kirby's still alive, which I also really, really liked. And it has me convinced that that's some sort of proof. I also think that a big, like this is proof is the fact that Spyglass has basically said that Stu's dead. He's dead. He's not coming back. And I'm sorry, but I don't see them just being like, you know what? Let's just tell everyone Stu Macher's alive. Let's just ruin that. Because they could go so many ways with it. And yeah, you get people like, oh, but if he's going to be in it, let's promote him. We don't need to promote him. We don't need to promote him. Because there's so many of us that think he's still alive, that want him to still be alive, and that want to see him back in this franchise. Something that I consider also proof, which may not be proof, but if you notice, Stu Macher, his name isn't actually really ever said. We are always told that Billy Loomis was the original Ghostface, but we don't really hear a whole lot about how Stu Macher was involved. There is talk of how there, was an accomplice, things like that. Stu Macher's name does get brought up a few times, but it's almost like he was forgotten, right? It's almost like he was forgotten in the world of Scream, right? Which I personally think is awfully odd. You would think that the two original Ghostfaces that are known for the original attacks, you'd think that they would both be infamous. But we really only hear about Billy, and that to me is highly sus. We have Mindy and Kirby talking, and I love that they brought the whole conspiracy thing that we have in our real lives, as Scream fans, into the Scream movie. I love that. I love how meta this whole franchise is. But when they're talking and she's like, oh yeah, Stu Macher's dead, and Mindy's like, if you believe that kind of thing. And I was just like, yes, yay, way to go, Mindy. Love Mindy. She's not my favorite character, but definitely right up there. Yeah, core four. But, So I just think that was in itself a little Easter egg that maybe Stu Macher isn't dead. And clearly in this world, they also have conspiracy theorists like us who think Stu Macher's still alive, and, probably for good reason. And I know that I have my naysayers out there that are going to say things like, oh, well, Spyglass, and they already said that Stu's dead, he's not coming back. And I'm going to say the same thing that I said earlier, which was, why would you let people know that Stu's alive? You know what I mean? Then it just kind of like spoils the twist. It spoils that fun. It spoils the guessing, and I just don't see them outright forthcoming and saying, hey, guess what, Stu's alive. West didn't do that before Scream 3, you know, and it makes sense. And honestly, I guess like there really wasn't a whole lot of speculation back then. And if there was, the internet was still pretty fucking new. I would know, you know, I literally was born before Google. So, you know, just a fun fact. Anyway, moving on. You know, so to those naysayers that use Spyglass as their sounding board, that's dumb. Not saying you're dumb. Definitely not saying you're dumb. But I am saying that that's not really a solid reason. And we've also got people who are looking at the board in Scream 6 where we see Stu Macher and it says death 1996 and a question mark. Now the question mark was not there, contrary to some popular belief. It was not there because they were like, oh my god, is he dead? Is he alive? It was because his mask hadn't been found yet. That's all it was. The mask hadn't been found yet. However, just because it did say that he was dead on the board doesn't mean he's actually dead. We can tell from Scream, the original, that, and even Scream 5, that clearly Stu's family had money. I mean, they had money. You don't get a house like that on property like that with a boat like that and a nice fucking decoration like that without having some cash, all right? And, you know, cash buys influence. Cash can really buy you anything. And if you also think about it, the sheriff in the first one was always kind of like sort of sketchy. And I don't know why. Maybe that's just my opinion. Maybe that comes from being 10 years old and watching the movie and being like, oh my god, he's the killer. I don't know. But, you know, with money, you could pretty much buy off anybody, judges, whatever. I mean, who's to say that Stu didn't, you know, get taken out and replaced with a cadaver? It happens. That's stuff that actually does happen in real life. So who says we can't apply that to the movie? You know, so there are ways that they could bring this back around. You know, like again, like I said, you don't just have nice expensive things like that because you just have nice expensive things. You have that because you have money. Whether the money's money you earned or it was money that came from your family is kind of irrelevant. Money's money, and money can get you far. Money can get you in hiding, you know? So I definitely something that I thought about. And for those of you asking, like, what cadaver? Well, I mean, it seems like there's a town, you know, I'm sure people die on a fairly regular basis. It wouldn't be that hard to just, you know, pretend that the cadaver is Stu. Stu would have to have a closed casket anyway, and maybe the person that they switched them with also had to have a closed casket. We don't know. That's the fun of speculation. This is why we don't want confirmation that Stu Macher's alive. We want to guess. We want to guess. We want that, like, is this an Easter egg? Is this some shit that they're just throwing in there to fuck with us? Because Scream likes to do shit like that. Let's be honest. And that's why I love the franchise. Love it. And this kind of brings me around to the Cult of Stu, right? Which was kind of what was supposed to happen in the third one, I believe. I could go online and probably find some stuff that I could post on here that gives a more accurate description of what I'm talking about. But the idea of the Cult of Stu is, I don't know, I'm kind of back and forth with it. It could be fun, it could be cheesy. It really, really, honestly depends on how it's done. It could really fill in a lot of major plot holes that we've had throughout the series. But let's face it, again, it's a slasher franchise. We are going to have inconsistencies and plot holes. And if you think we're not there... And like I had mentioned earlier, this was kind of the idea for Scream 3, right? Was to have Stu come back, do the Cult of Ghostface, which would have brought it right back around to the very first Scream and would have been a good idea had Columbine not happened. Rest in peace. You know, that shit still, to this day, is rough as fuck. But like I said, as long as this is done well, we could totally have the Cult of Stu, and I would be totally fine with that. I know there's some of you out there that do not agree with me, and that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything. You know, we can absolutely disagree and still live in a cohesive way. So, you know, but anyway. Well, another thing I wanted to talk about, fucking hey, it's like I can't speak. Another thing I want to talk about would be fun plot twists, right? So it would be really fun to see Stu Macher come back and either he's pissed off because all these other Ghostface have been, you know, screwing up his legacy and he's just fucking done with it. He's like, you know what, bitches, I'm gonna do this. It could also be a cultist too, where he's like, I am so sick and tired of you people fucking up. I'm taking matters in my own hand. He could also have been part of this the whole time and just working behind the scenes. Like, it would explain, you know, the Dewey God, rest in peace, Dewey. It would explain, you know, how fucking Amber, it's itty bitty little Amber. I'm like 5'2", and I'm pretty positive she's smaller than I am. It would explain how all of a sudden she grew 10 fucking inches and was able to like gut him all the way up. That's not easy. That's not an easy thing to do. They would also kind of help fill in those plot holes in Scream 4, which I know a lot of you are going to disagree with my ranking because Scream 4 is at the fucking bottom of my list, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that you can't have someone my size in a costume and be 6 feet tall and do all these things. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. Jill doesn't work, and Charlie doesn't work. That shit didn't work. It didn't fucking work. So again, if we bring back Stu, then hey, look, that works, and it would be a really crazy twist that he's been behind the scenes the whole time. He's been in a mental institution. He's been in hiding, whatever it is. I think it would be a really cool twist to see him come back, reveal himself, pull off the ghost face mask. We didn't get to see him pull off the ghost face mask, which I really would have loved to have seen. I think that would have been cool. But to get him to see, you know, the reveal, pulling off that ghost face mask and being like, you know, it would be a great way to get Sydney back in. What a fucking twist, you know what I mean? Like, it would be a great way to get Neve Campbell back in and playing Sydney. I loved her as Sydney. No one could have ever done a better Sydney, and I would love to see her back. I would love to see her get some closure because I think she deserves to have absolute closure. And what better way to have closure than to bring it around to Stu? I also think that another really great twist would be what if Stu came back and redeemed himself? What if he was like, you know what, I was dumb, I was young, I was under the, you know, influence of a fucking sociopath, psychopath, whatever, you know, and he decides that he's gonna come back and he actually wants to help, right? And that would, again, be another way to draw Sydney back in, and we'd have to, you know, expect the unexpected as the audience, but that would be kind of cool. You know, I would be okay with a redemption arc, but I would much rather see Sid and Stu duke it out to the end, her finally kill him once and for all, because, you know, they're never dead unless you shoot him in the fucking head. So how cool would that be? I think that would be a great twist. Now, let's just touch on fan service real quick, because I know a lot of you out there are like, oh my god, if we bring Stu Macher back, it's just gonna be fan service. What the fuck is wrong with fan service? If it's done right, then what the fuck does it matter? Because it doesn't. It really doesn't matter. As long as it's done right, fan service is totally cool. Kirby coming back was fan service, absolute fan service. And they did it well. I really like that they brought her back as an FBI agent. I really like that she was like, you know what, I'm not going to let the ghost faces of the world scare me. They're going to be scared of me. I'm going to come for the ghost faces and they're going to be afraid of me. And that was fucking fan service. But they did it well. And so I think with Stu Macher, they could also do fan service and do it very, very well. So with all of that being said, folks, that is the end of my video. It's not very long, but none of my videos are very long. Surprise, surprise. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe. That'd be really great. It'd be super fucking helpful. You know, it just would. So just fucking do it. Just do it. Anyway, to any of my fans out there, to any of my watchers, I really appreciate you, and I appreciate that you just stick with me through my ridiculous, embarrassing first vlog videos. But yeah, anyway, love, peace, and chicken grease, y'all.